Elijah, you have the perfect source for this third body paragraph. Remember, the third body paragraph is describe the impact of the disaster. In other words, the effect of the disaster. How many people died, were injured, and or were affected in some way. Although you may have already put that in your other body paragraphs, which is fine. How people reacted to the disaster. How the disaster led to new laws, new way of doing things, and or learning. And if you already put how many people died in another paragraph, that's fine. These are just general guidelines. I probably would, if you haven't already done so, this right here, I think you're talking about the end of the epidemic. I believe it would work much better in your second body paragraph. So for some more information, if you click here, that's the perfect source. And then where you want to look, as far as the impact of the disaster, is here. It says that African Americans played a vital role in the epidemic of 1793, because this goes to how many people reacted, the people that were affected in some way. So the impact, this is still under there. African Americans played a vital role in the epidemic of 1793. African Americans worked tirelessly with the sick and dying as nurses, cart drivers, coffin makers, and grave diggers. Absalom Jones and Richard Allen, religious leaders who would later go on to found, that means start, the first black churches of Philadelphia, and it tells what the churches are, described their experience as volunteers. They said at this time the dread that prevailed over people's minds was so general that it was a rare instance to see one neighbor visit another, and even friends, when they met in the street, were afraid of each other. Also, a horror that they observed as far as the impact, how this impacted people, was that they observed horrendous behavior from the fearful citizens of Philadelphia. I'm sorry. Many white people have acted in a manner that would make humanity shudder. 240 African Americans did die of yellow fever, even though Dr. Rush thought they were immune, but I noticed that that's not nearly as many white people. Now, here we go. This is the impact, the effect. It says, the yellow fever epidemic of 1793 forever changed Philadelphia. Though the initial impact was gloom and dread, great adaptations were made by the people of Philadelphia. Hospitals, isolation hospitals, and orphanages were built. Political leaders learned the importance of nursing care from the epidemics of yellow fever, and attempted to provide it more carefully. Aggressive attempts were made. That means they really put their full effort into it. Aggressive attempts were made to improve the city's sanitary conditions. And here's some examples of what they mean by that. Laws came into existence. And remember, that was one of the requirements for the third body paragraph is laws, new laws. Laws came into existence for homeowners to hold responsibility for cleaning up their property. Murphy stated these cleanliness laws were rather weak and generally ignored by all. However, during the 19th century, these laws would eventually be enforced. So eventually, people followed these laws. A great improvement was made in Philadelphia's water supply following the yellow fever outbreak. waste from privy pits, meaning latrines, that's where people's waste when they went to the bathroom was. Byproducts of manufacturing, that's just a bunch of yucky germs and junk, and trash of markets seeped into private and public wells used for drinking and cooking, which resulted in what Jim Murphy describes as evil smelling and evil tasting water. So that was before. The citizens of Philadelphia believed that foul smelling water could be the cause of health problems. In 1799, Benjamin Latrobe, father of American architecture, was hired to design and construct Philadelphia's first waterworks and the first water system in the United States. I mean, so that people could actually have clean water, because that can spread diseases. Latrobe's waterworks design removed water from the Schuylkill River by a steam engine pump, which pumped the water into a central pump house. And then it tells more about that. So basically, it's new inventions. And eventually the water from the central pump house surged with the power to wash streets and docks. Even bathing became a great deal more common. I suppose people didn't bathe that often, so now they bathed more. Latrobe later went on to design the current capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. Don't put this in your thing, but it was ironic that he died of yellow fever while he was constructing the waterworks in New Orleans, but that's just a little detail. Finally, it says that the yellow fever epidemic of 1793 can be considered a crucial, meaning really, really important part of not only Pennsylvania's history, because Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania, but of the history of human strength and fortitude during unbelievably difficult times. So, you want your information from Impact for Impact to come from this reading.